From New Worship, just a second. I'm coming to you right now in several different parts. I don't know if you've recognized the dire situation that we're in. I'm not like one of these people that like to say the end of the world is coming and stuff like that, because that just isn't me. But what I do like to do is to tell you that it's here. It's not a matter of if the world is going to end, it's going to end. We've entered this a phase of a snowball rolling downhill. It's only going to pick up speed as we're going. You're going to have nothing to fall back on but your own knowledge and your own fortitude of who you are. I know there's a end time preppers out there. They're looking for certain situations that will cause them to bug out and leave. You're not going to have that because it's too late. It's going to happen right now. And what I'm talking about is that there's going to be a total collapse of the whole world's society as we know it. Everything that we know in our world, it's going to be upended. The kids, they don't care because they're not going to pay for all the troubles in the world because they're just not going to do it. The troubles in the world is here. Why are so many of our young people committing suicide? You take hope away from anybody, and they're going to want to commit suicide. And it doesn't take much to see that all hope is lost right now. And what hope am I talking about? I'm talking about the hope that they have a world tomorrow. They say, oh, it's going to go on, some of them, and they're playing it up like it's no big deal, but it is a big deal. You see, it takes one step off the cliff to start falling. It takes just a moving forward to get everything started. Well, we have to just move forward in the total collapse of our society. We've taken a big jump, and that big jump happened a long time before Biden, Trump, Obama. It happened a long time before. We say, well, the COVID brought all this in. No, COVID is the tool that people are using right now to say, this is what's going to happen now. Dictatorship by any means is not a socialist problem. Society. It is a communistic society. Look at what happened in Cuba as the closest resemblance of what happened. Castro went in with the idea of making a socialist society. He tried to bring it all together, but his society was collapsing around him. And what did Castro do? He stepped in and said, okay, I'm tired of it. No more infighting. This is the way it's going to be. He took over dictatorship. What do you think is happening right now? Politically in America, what do you think is happening? We're moving from a socialist society into a dictatorship, a communistic society, where we have to do this or do that. Whenever you mandate something to a society that is socialist, it is no more socialist society, but a dictatorship. If I refuse to take the COVID shot after it's mandated, what's going to happen to me? More than likely, I will be arrested and put in jail. And if I still refuse in jail, I will stay in there until I accept the shot. That's just the way it is. But that's a sign of a dictatorship. But we've got a bigger problem that Biden saying we have to mandate to take the shot. What do we got? We got people that want to work that can't work. Why? Because of the gap between one person to the next is so great and so large till they can't go to work. When you have to take almost $100 a week to put in gas just to go to work, and you're only making 300 a week, that means 200 is all you got to spend. 2 times 4 is $800 a month. You got people living in apartments that cost at least $1,000 a month. So you say, well, there's 2 people living in there. So you get 2 people in there. That's still only $1,600 a month. You pay $1,000 for the apartment, and then you have to buy food, clothing, and all this other stuff to go along with it. You can't afford to work. You don't make enough money to work. So what do you do? As most of these young children coming through our schools are, they're very well educated. It does not take much for them to add up. Well, you say, well, the minimum wage is going up to $15 an hour. Even at $15 an hour, with the gap that is associated with everything happening now, they are going to be only halfway of where they need to be. What do I mean? It's not $15 no more. Because all the norms are going to point to the fact that they need to make at least $25 an hour. Why? Because that $25 an hour will sustain them to have an apartment or a home, to be able to go back and forth to work, to have health care, be able to clothe and feed themselves. That's all. They're not going to be able to have one of these luxurious houses in a suburb somewhere to where they can prosper and do something with. No, they're not going to have that. And they see that. So even at $15 an hour, which would be good just 3 years ago to have that, now is behind the gun. If it wasn't for the government assistance that I'm getting right now, I can afford to live where I'm at. But that government assistance is predicated on the fact that I might have to get COVID, be mandated to get the COVID shot. And if it's mandated, well, then it's not a socialist society, but a communistic society. You can't have demands in a socialist society. In a socialist society, it is at the will of the people as they see fit, not at the will of our government. Even though the government is elected by the people, when they get into office, they have to abide by certain rules. that keeps them from being a communistic society. They've broken that. But they didn't break it just in Biden, Trump, or Obama. When did they break it? They broke it a long time ago, back in the 60s and in the 70s. And people started demanding that this is where they want their world to go. It started a little snowball of an effect, cause and effect. And these cause and effects can be seen worldwide. Starting off, this care, what I do is I develop what's called the milk prices. There is milk and gas prices seem to go hand in hand in the way things are. Usually, milk price by the gallon is about that of a gallon of gas. The milk price has skyrocketed very high, so high till it can't be reached. But people say we got milk alternatives, lactose, soy milk, and all like this. We have alternatives, but it's still price per gallon. The price per gallon for any type of milk product is higher than that of gas. And you think that's a good thing. No, what happens is the demand for milk is equal to the demand for gas. And more the demand for gas, the gas price is going to rise. But when that does, that escalates the gas and milk. So I compare them side by side. Back in the turn of the 1970s, turn of that decade there, gas and milk was running neck to neck at about $1 a gallon. And they kept that on for quite a long time, running neck and neck. They would go up, milk would go up, gas would go up, and they was running side by side. Well, all that stopped back when there was Jerry Ford and he put a price freeze on everything. Then the next administration to come in, Jimmy Carter came in and he took that price freeze away. Slowly, he didn't fully take it away. It was Ronald Reagan came in and finally said, we're going to eliminate the price freeze on things and just let it go back the way it was. Too late. Because the moment they took it off, milk prices rose up higher than the gas prices. And as the gas prices started coming up, the milk price came up. It's like two floating bubbles in the atmosphere. One kept rising higher than the other. And the milk price shows the inflation rate that was happening to the food market. And gas prices showing the escalation of what it costs to go to work to earn the money to pay for the milk. They go hand in hand. If the milk goes up too high and the gas is too low, then everybody can go in and work 4 hours and afford to pay that milk price. And the milk price comes down. If people can't afford to go to work, then the gas, and with the gas price coming up, then the milk price sits on the shelf and it goes up. That means even with a higher gas price, there is even a higher demand on the milk. More demand on the milk, higher the price. Less demand on the milk, lower the price. But now you get all these substitutes of milks coming in. They come in and they overshadow what the milk prices are. Thus, it becomes a higher, well, we can't produce as much milk now. So we're going to have to go higher on what we can get for the gallon of milk. That gallon of milk, in some places, averages right about $2 a gallon. The gas prices going up. They're getting close to $3 a gallon someplace. Some places well over $3 a gallon. Milk prices, some places where there's such a high demand for them and not enough coming in, the milk prices are almost $5 a gallon. Do you see the problem here? The people cannot afford to buy a gallon of milk, nor can they afford to pay put the gas in the car to go to work. They both have got out of the way range for people to actually go to work. Put it like this: your doctor's office has to be cleaned by those that are professional, that knows what they're doing. Sure, you might have a little guys coming in vacuuming here and there, but most doctor's office has to have professionals coming in to clean. That means they have to pay a higher price to get the floors vacuum clean, windows clean, sanitized, sterilized across like that. They have to pay more for that. But the people doing the work are the ones that can't afford to go to work anymore. They can't afford to go travel to this doctor's office and that doctor's office. To spend 2 hours here, 2 hours there to get a job that's where they're not making enough money to make ends meet. It is better that they stay home. And we saw this when unemployment got a stimulus to them where they got more money to stay home. That's what people chose to do. We saw that. And that caused our supermarkets and everything to almost collapse because they were running out of this and that. The stores were what we needed. Slowly it started coming back, but it still isn't that, people. Then here we go again. If it's not back and we're about to go through it all over again, what do you think's going to happen? Yes, that's what's going to happen. We are going to be in a state of no return. And then you throw in a mandate for people to, in order to go shop, buy food and all like that, has to be able to do this, show proof of this or that, or have to have this happen to them or that happen to them. You can't even trade without this. This is total breakdown of a society that we know it. But it's not just here. Take a look around the country. There are riots in the streets already from where there's shortages of food, shortages of gas, shortage of everything. Why? Because the people can't afford to go to work. People can't afford to pay the electric bill. That's another part. If you can't afford to pay your electric bill, then all the money that's needed to run these nuclear plants or coal burning uh, power plants or hydropower plants or whatever you want to look at them. If people can't pay their bills and the companies need the money to run these power plants and they can't get the money and the government money is not enough to secure them to keep doing this, they'll have no choice but to do what they're doing in lots of places throughout the world. It's called rolling brown out. But we can't put all these generators up so they can't come in. So they have less people. Less people means less electricity that can go out. Less electricity going out. It means that the people that are receiving it may not be able to pay it. And if they can't pay it, then that's waste. That's the company's fault. It keeps going on and on. It's escalating to where we're eventually that coal company can buy the coal, that hydro mill that creates power through falling water and things like that. They got generators going out and they can't get them back up because they haven't got the employees. You know, there's a lot of things going on that's coming to this. You think that a natural disaster can shut all this down. Well, no, what's going on right now can shut it down around the whole world. Over even in Russia. They're having to fight their own people to get them to go to work, demanding that they have to go to work, but the people can't get to work. So what are they going to do? That person that cleans that doctor's office can't get in there to clean it no more. Eventually, that doctor's office is going to have to close down because they haven't got the people to come in to keep it going, to clean people. Doctors and nurses, some of them agree with what's going on with mandated COVID. Lots of them don't. You get more and more doctors and nurses walking off. So a hospital filled to capacity is based upon how many doctors and nurses and staff they had to run that. Again, you got to have quality people all the way down to the ones cleaning the floor to do the work. Because they're not making enough money to come to work. Then who's cleaning? And nobody's cleaning, and they have to close off certain rooms. They can't use them. Not until fully clean and sanitized. Thus, even though they got a 300 room bedroom um, for patients, they can only operate a third of that. And so when they get filled to capacity, 2/3 of the hospital is empty only because they haven't got the staff to operate it. Then you get some of these hospitals have to get the money to pay their bills or even pay the nurses or the staff members or the doctors. And so they're going out of business. Think about it. How many of these places have you seen? Hospitals have you seen that's having to close their doors forever because they haven't got money to keep it going? Hospitals and things like that should be for profit, but they have to make a profit. Because in a societal world, not profit, hospital means that the doctors, nurses, and other staff that takes to run it are not going to get paid what they need to get paid to make a living. So doctors will. They'll eventually make all the money they need. But then doctors, since they're over there working most of the time, they need somebody at home to clean. They can't always have their wife or loved ones doing all the cleaning because the house they have is so big till they can't afford to clean it all by themselves. They have to have somebody else to help them. And the people they used to have are not there no more. So the doctor has to stay home and help and do the cleaning around the house. That's one less doctor in the hospital. That's me for that day. I can go on and on about how all of this is collapsing right around us. I can go on and on about how you need to be prepared to make things meet, make things do for you just the way that you are. Soon there'll be so much printed money out there. It's going to be like the ruble did a long time ago, or the yen. did a long time ago, that there was so much of them printed that the value of them become cheap. In other words, take the pesos. The pesos in Mexico, and that's for Central America, it's at an all-time low, where it used to take, I think it was 221 pesos to make a dollar. It now takes almost 400 no, yeah, no, four and something pesos to make $1, and it's climbing even worse. That's pretty sad to equal to $1. But now the dollar is being printed at such a rate. You watch and see that the peso don't become equal or as valuable as the dollar does. They say we always got the English pound. No, the euro makes sure that the English pound is just about as worthless as the American dollar. I could go on and on. You know, you can check these things out yourself. You can see all this stuff happening. It doesn't take a genius to see this. Just know that if you're a prepper and you haven't bugged out, it's too late. You better bunker in where you're at because you're in for a ride of your life. If you're out there and you're having mental problems, well, the mental truth is, so there's not going to be nobody out there to help you to overcome your problem. Because the nurses, the case managers, and all these other people can't afford to go to work. Lots of hospitals and places like that are not going to be operating full capacity because they haven't got the people and the staff to do so. The mayor's office, the city police, and jails and things like that, something got to give because they're not going to have the people to work it. Even the CD, the correctional departments and all like that, the house of jails and prisons, there's so many getting sick and they're not making enough money to go to work each day. And there's such a high demand on them. It doesn't pay them to work. Everything is out of kilter. And it's like a snowball rolling downhill. Too late. The snowball is about to triple and double in its size with every roll. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. Yes, I'm tired because I stay up and I study all this stuff. I watch all the things that I can and I read all that I need to read. Unless I come, I know that eventually they're going to blame it all on religions. Because when it comes down to it, the last little thing that happens is this religion, that religion, and all these different churches and all going to get blamed for it. And they're going to start coming in there like Nero did in Rome and shut it all down, burn it all up. And that's what's going to happen. I mean, it don't take a genius to see this. All it takes you is take a chance at the liquor store and look around. Compare the milk price to that of a gallon of gas. At the milk price is cheaper than a gallon of gas, it's out of kilter. If the milk price is higher than a gallon of gas, it's out of kilter. They should be about the same, no matter what. They should be about the same. But you'll find out that they're not. Lots of people used to say, well, we can compare apples to oranges. The apple price to the orange price. You can't do that no more because the apples and the oranges are something that you just can't compare anymore. And they said the poor man can live off the price of a loaf of bread. Even the loaf of bread is at such a high rate to where most people can't afford it. Next time, when you're driving down the street to your next place to buy something, either for clothing or something to eat or something to take home and fix and make for yourself, look and see how many people that you can take and say are homeless and know it. Not by the many people holding up the sign need work and all like that. There's a lot of people doing that that doesn't need the money at all. But look at how many homeless people there is. You think about your children in school, what they're having to go through compared to what they're learning. To be truthful, what they're learning in school is no more than what you could teach them at home right now. Because all the things that they were supposed to learn in school, they can't learn now because of all the little hate literatures and things going on. And if they're there and they can't learn any more than what you can teach them, why send them to school? Eventually, that's what's going to happen. Because there's not enough teachers in the world right now to teach our children. It's so sad, so sad. It's like the Olympics. The Olympic is a sad state of affair because half the countries that need to go in there to compete just couldn't afford to go there because there were so many restrictions, so many things put on there. So it's basically just a few countries in there. So what was the betterment of it? There was none. And people, what you have right now and what you believe in your heart is what you have. You don't have anything else. You think you're going to have a Bible tomorrow. Well, that Bible can be jerked out of your hand and burnt, just like the Quran will be. And you say, well, you'll fight to the death for it. Yeah, you'll fight to the death, and it still won't make any difference. Because, you see, when one person fights to the death for what they believe in, and you got 100 around you telling you, no, that's not right, then you're going to lose. You might fight one or two, but you're not going to fight the 100. This ain't like the movie The Badlands. You're just not going to have it. And that's the other thing. Watch what happens to your television programs. They're going back to the 50s and 60s because the programs today they cannot produce because they can't get people to work. Why? Somebody mandated they have to have a mask. What about all the sitcoms that you're watching? Had to have a mask on right now. Would it matter when they come up with a punchline? No, because you couldn't see their face. And if you did see the face, those people may get arrested because they didn't have a mask on. Oh, but they had the COVID shot. Well, when you take the COVID shot, you guaranteed you got COVID-19 in your blood. So every time you breathe in and breathe out, you're passing the COVID gene on. Who are you going to give it to? Think about it, people. Our life's not going to be worth living. The way it's going, total collapse of the world, economies are going down. And there's no way to stop it. It is happening right before your eyes. Remember it. And if you want to worship God, you're going to have to realize that you are the true living Word of God. And God talks to you each and every day, and you're going to have to listen to it. And if you don't want to recognize that God's talking to you, then you're going to be lost. It's just that simple. That's why I'm putting this in with new worship and everything. But it's so sad for us to be here. So sad. Y'all have a blessed day and stay safe in this jungle that's about to happen. Bye-bye.